Everybody, good morning. It's David coming to you today from Seattle, Washington. Just a few hours before kickoff today for the annual Seahawk game that I attend with my son and my son-in-law. This will be the 11th year that my son and I have gone to a Seahawk game together. So hope they win. I just wanted to recap Lesson 5 for you and then preview Lesson 6 for you. So let's get started. Lesson 5 talked about conflict and negotiation. So you had two discussion boards this week where you were presented some methods or methodologies, if you will, on how to deal with conflict. Because let's face it, conflict's going to happen, and as a manager in any type of situation, whether it's a hospitality property or even a manager of your own home, right? Sometimes conflict strategies are needed, and it's needed for you to be able to think rationally about these things. Because in the heat of the moment, sometimes, unless you are prepared for these, you'll have some struggles. And so, conflict methodologies are always good to pre-look at and to make sure that um, there's something that's familiar with you when the event happens. You'll notice I said when, not if. The second discussion board question talked about negotiation. Life, jobs, everything else these days are fit for negotiation. If you are a hardliner on things, chances are there may not be many people who want to work for you. If you're too easy, then you're not going to get the job done, and your bosses will um, have you go work somewhere else, okay? And so effective negotiation is really important. I'm actually teaching a course right now on problem solving and critical thinking in the graduate program. And this week we're talking about negotiation and finding the third side to arguments. So while we may always think there are two sides to an argument, one of the key things to help in negotiation is to find the third side. There's another concept that's called going to the balcony, where as a manager you can rise above the issues and look down very objectively at what's going on, and that's called going to the balcony. In the application this week gave you an opportunity to do a PowerPoint presentation regarding conflict strategies on a case study that you developed. And so I'll look forward to reading those this week to see what you come up with. All right, so that was Lesson 5. Lesson 6 talks about motivation, talks about genuineness. Um, and motivation is an interesting topic. You have two discussion boards this week in an application. Um, from a motivation perspective, many times you're looking at different things to help encourage employees. However, I'm a firm believer that you can only motivate an individual to their point of wanting to be motivated. And so, unless an individual or employee has some sort of inner motivation to do something, chances are everything that you try will probably be short-lived. And so part of the key thing in motivation is finding those things that are incredibly important to your employee, to your individual, to your child, to those things, and then working on ways to come to some sort of effective resolution on those so that they can be motivated. You can get your you can get your objective accomplished, and everyone be happy, right? And so that's an interesting one about motivation. So I'll be curious to see what you have there. Um, the next discussion board talks about genuineness and counseling. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be a counselor in jobs, and one of the key things is finding that balance, because sometimes if you get too involved, then that's not going to be good. If you don't get involved at all, then your employees think you don't care. And so trying to find the balance between that and really be genuine. There's also a thing in the graduate course that I teach that talks about a formula. It talks about empathy plus sincerity equals persuasion. And so if you're very empathetic and you're sincere, sorry about that, bus going by. If you're empathetic and you have a degree of sincerity, then your ability to persuade people actually increases. And so think about that concept too as you're looking at genuineness in counseling this week. And then the application this week is just like another case study where you have a couple of scenarios where you're presented and you're being asked to apply some of the motivation techniques that you talked about this week, some of the counseling techniques that you've brought forward in order to help solve an issue. Okay? I'll be on the plane tomorrow. Today's Sunday. I'll be on the plane tomorrow, and then I'll be gone a couple of days. But again, I'll be totally accessible if you need to chat with me. So on the home stretch here, and look forward to seeing your Lesson 6 information. If you have any questions, make sure you contact me, bounce me an email, and I'll get back to you in a nanosecond. All right? Go Hawks. Have a great week.